Come back into public session. Could you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's nothing to report out from closed session, so we'll go for the approval of the minutes for January 13th. I believe that we have some additions, corrections.
Yes, I received from trustee Mike Riley a few edits. He attended the district strategic planning session in Oakdale, Modesto Finance Committee, not the Foundation Finance Committee, and also the meeting and sentence where he was reportedly handing out information on GVM, and he was not the person who was giving out information on the GVM gala. Those will be reflected in the official minutes.
Okay, that's duly noted. Any other questions regarding the minutes from any of the board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
So, second.
It's been moved by Don Viss, seconded by trustee Martin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. This is an opportunity to hear from the public. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any item not on the agenda, you may do so at this point. Seeing nobody rise to the occasion, we'll consider the public session closed. We have a report and information items for accreditation update. Who's going to be, do we have somebody making a report on that from Columbia? All right.
Good evening, Chancellor Smith, members of the board, Leslie Buckaloo, Columbia College. Just giving you a very brief update on accreditation. First of all, we have our committees intact, and we have very good participation. Students are involved now with every single committee, and we are having delegation of duties and gathering of the evidence. We've decided to go to or use Office 365. Thank you for the new technology tools. I appreciate our researcher, Diana Sunday, has been training each of the standard teams, and they seem to really like this new technology capability. Will give people capacity to work remote as well as on campus. And we have had our faculty co-chair, Nate Rain, attending some of the meetings. He's actively involved with me as the ALO. I met with our president, and with Nate, we've got a good calendar in place in terms of the forums set up for both on-campus internal forums and our community forums that we'll host and invite questions and comments from the public about that. We are gathering the evidence. You know, we're hard at it, so I don't have any new reports per se on each of the standards, but again, good participation. We have Accreditation Institute next week, and Nate will be attending, as well as Joe Ryan, our new Dean for Arts and Sciences. Are there any questions?
Any
I had a
questions?
comment. Just want to say that you and Nate motivated me when you were giving an encouragement talk to everyone at the Institute Day. And one thing that was mentioned was the online course for accreditation basics, and so I was encouraged enough to spend a couple hours reading through that online, and I took the test, and you'll be glad to know that I passed.
That's excellent.
And I got my certificate of completion
right.
for accreditation basics.
Very good. Glad for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for MJC, I'd like to say first, Trustee Riley, don't be surprised when you get the call and they ask you to serve on a team. They have record of that completion. At Modesto Junior College, our standard teams have been meeting, and there has been phenomenal participation, even to the point where there's some competition about which group is progressing the fastest and getting the most done. And I can't think of anything better to have a little healthy competitive spirit around than working our way through the standards as we do our institutional self-evaluation.
Thank you. Any questions for Jill? Thank you, Joe. We'll go now to the constituency reports, the Student Senate activity reports.
Hello, everybody. So to start out, I would like to announce that we have full student representation on all of our ASCC internal committees, as well as campus-wide committees, including accreditation, as Dr. Buckaloo just said. I personally am on Standard 1, and I put in probably 4 hours within the last week or so, so it's cool to experience it. It's new for me on that accreditation committee, and I like it, so all of our students are really excited to be having our voices heard. Next, we are going to be helping out at Cram Night. This is kind of in the future, April 20th, 2016, and we're going to be holding that from 5 to 9. We are also planning on helping out at the Rotary charity event for a fire tech program. So we're going to purchase 2 tables worth of tickets for students. It's going to be, I think it's 16 tickets. And we also want to tie that in with fundraising for fingerprinting costs for student workers also. So we're thinking we might purchase the tickets and then try to do a fundraiser also and have the proceeds from that go back to our students. And in addition to that, we are purchasing new apparel. We're bringing cardigans back, which a lot of people are happy about. I'm personally not a cardigan guy, but a lot of people are very into that, so go cardigans.
Go cardigans.
Doesn't even know what a cardigan
And
is.
in addition to that, we're still working on our lecture series, so we're going to bring a guest speaker to Columbia College for students. We're thinking about doing that during our election process since that's coming up this semester. So we want to kind of connect the two in some way. And actually, Aaron has taken the lead on that project. So we're excited to have somebody come and present while we have students campaigning for their new positions. That is all I had to report. Are there any questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I have
Gary.
Modesto's. Modesto said that they would like to report out that they are going to be kicking off in a thing they're calling Flow, which is free lunch on Wednesdays, and that Club Rush, the second week of school, was very successful and they had a great turnout. That's all they wanted to report.
Thank you. Altac?
Good evening, everyone. Well, we held our first meeting earlier this month with the new members, and we elected the following. Klaus Tenbergen is the LTAC president. Arbella Suka is the treasurer. Yolanda Avila is the recorder. Lisa Husman is the Goodwill representative. Because Klaus is up at Columbia College, I will continue to report out at the board meetings here at the district, and then Klaus will do the report out at the meetings at Columbia College. We're working on collecting our dues for this new year, and we'll be sending out an email reminding managers to pay their dues, and the dues are used for the 2 college scholarships and sympathy cards and remembrance donations. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
I'm assuming we don't have any questions for Dorothy.
She didn't want to answer.
YFA?
Good evening. YFA has a draft of a full-time faculty survey that we're going to be sending out. Whoops. Yeah, I'll just touch something. That we're going to send out pretty soon regarding the follow-up survey that we did for the part-time faculty. We're kind of getting a full-time perspective on that, and then later on we'll be doing a general meeting where we bring full-time and part-time faculty together, see what the results are of the survey, see where we have some common areas of interest and some areas that we need to discuss. So that survey is going to be going out before the end of the month. I was able to meet with the Columbia Senate this past month, and I think I've got it on the schedule now where I can come up every month so I can interact with the faculty there. And so it's actually a nice drive going up there and doing that, and we've identified a good Mexican restaurant that I get to go to and eat, so that's good. There's been a lot of activity as there always usually is in the beginning of a semester, and I really appreciate our administration working with YFA, calling in, checking to see is this how this works, or I just want to make sure we're on the same page, and I really appreciate that from our deans to our vice presidents, and as well as President Stearns too. I really appreciate that. And then yesterday we had a nice meeting with a couple of us from the exec board, with the MDC Academic Senate talking about alumni. I think it was a very good discussion. Got some things clarified. We got some things that we're looking into. There's some follow-up. But it was a very good discussion yesterday. So, pretty much it. Any
Any
questions?
questions, Jim? Thank you.
Thanks.
CSEA?
Good evening, Board. I'd like to report that I met with Trustee Riley, had a great conversation. I also met with Joan, and I thank you for your encouragement to classified staff. We're trying to work on a professional development day, which will be in May, and Joan has given her full support, and I appreciate that. One thing that classified staff are concerned with, while I respect totally what faculty do, and we need to educate our students, I respect what our administrators do in making the big decision. Classified staff do a lot of work to keep the college running. We are all concerned with FTEs. We know what that means. In my discussion with Trustee Riley, I did share with him that a lot of the positions that were laid off in 2011 have not been filled. Therefore, we've had classified staff going above and beyond, working out of class, putting in extra hours, I will say donating extra hours. With an email that came out this morning, the decision to cover the deficit of FTE's fundings will be to remove any salary savings from vacant positions. I consider that a RIF. That's a reduction in force. That's not a person that we're going to get back to do the work. So our classified staff will continue to take on more and more because we're dedicated. We believe in the students. We believe in the college. We want the programs we work for to be successful. We have the wonderful Triple SP grant and the Student Equity Program, which is bringing in lots of money, hiring lots of new staff. But I don't think what is realized is the secondary effects of additional staff. All the work that HR has to put in to get those positions posted and then get do all the paperwork for the hirings, get the people hired. What our benefits staff has to do to get these people onboarded. In addition, the mail room, the additional mailboxes, additional mail, the additional travel, the IT people, more computers, more phones. Even though this one program is grant funded and it pays for that, it kind of has a fallout everywhere else. So my main point is classified is extremely concerned about the FTEs. If there's something we can do, let us know. I've been guaranteed that we're not looking at layoffs at this time, but if you're not filling vacant positions, the work is not going away. It's going to be done. I don't know how. And also the email that came out this morning, no more overtime. So okay, so there's less people to do the same amount or more work. We'd love to get it done for you. I don't know how. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Well, just a comment in terms of,
Sure.
we need to follow the law, which is an obvious thing to say. And as you mentioned, sometimes people really want to get things done that are paid on an hourly basis and do it on their own time. To me, that would be breaking the law if they weren't being paid for it and required to do it. So I understand and appreciate that, but we need to follow the law, and we also have to be smart about how we use our financial resources too. So I think over the last few years we've done very well at that, and I have confidence that we will continue to do well. So I know things can be tough, but overall I'm an optimistic person, and I feel optimistic about how we're going to be able to handle things at YCCD.
And I think that the work that classified staff do is tremendous, and I hope there's something that we can do to kind of prioritize and bringing back some of the positions. So that would be up to staff to try to figure that out. Any other comments? Faculty representative to the board.
Hello, everyone. Tonight, I have a request. I am asking you to consider the issue of including short but specific summaries of the faculty constituent reports in your minutes. I cannot speak for the other constituent groups, but of course, I would argue for their inclusion as well. Especially when we're talking about FTEs and other problems, this may seem like a really small item, but it is important to the 3 faculty presidents and to me. We have been trying over the last 6 months or so to bring you substantive reports that contain ideas and concerns, but they are not included in the minutes, which is the official record of what happens here. Board Policy 2360 concerning minutes recently came up at the District Council, and it will probably come before you for a reading in the next few months. And when I asked about this particular issue at the District Council, I was told by staff that board members do not want the specific reports in the minutes. I've discussed this with a few of you individually, and you have told me about some general concerns about liability or lawyers' warnings. And so I wondered, maybe I was asking for something really unreasonable. So I did some research on what other districts and trustees do about this issue. And I found kind of a mixed bag. Some include specific reports and some do not. And I would looked at districts, not single colleges. Delta College does not, but Merced College District does include short, brief summary reports from the constituent groups. Foothill De Anza does not. West Valley Mission does include short reports. This suggests to me that this decision on this particular item is made by individual boards, and I ask you to consider just a few points. First, the college president reports are not voting actionable items, and yet their reports are specifically included in the minutes. Second, I believe that transparency is a value in the YCCD district, and our constituent groups, as well as the general community, deserve to know what we tell you. Right now, they have no way to see what it is that we tell you. And then finally, Accreditation Standard 4, Leadership and Governance, calls for, quote, appropriate consideration of relevant perspectives, unquote. I think you do that here. You listen. But the minutes should reflect what you listen to. And then my last point is that Wendy, Curtis, Jim, and I are willing to provide the secretary for the board or the stenographer with short 1 to 3 sentence summaries of our reports to make this request easier to manage. I thank you for considering this request, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions?
I have. So you're not asking, like I've seen in some places where this is like a document that was presented during the meeting and attached to the minute. You're not asking for that. You want the summary, just a summary included as we would on when we expand on some other things here on the personnel items on the consent agenda.
Yes, for example, tonight I might have provided a one-sentence summary, and it would say my name, that I expressed a request that the board consider allowing one-sentence summaries in the minutes of remarks. It would be just a brief summary of what it is that we report to.
Okay. And our legal, they don't want summaries, I guess, because that's what they're concerned about.
I didn't ask about a summary per se, but when things go through the Policy and Procedure Committee, you know, we were attaching and this has been years. I mean, you know, year and a half, 2 years ago, I don't remember. They were patching like pages, and they suggested that we follow the CCLC policy. So, you know,
Which is to not have.
which is not to have anything. So that was presented to the board. So to me, this is a board decision. It's really one way or the other. And the accreditation line that you quoted, which is one of the reasons when I started as chancellor, it was only Senate reports that we heard from. And I went to the board and said, you know, I think we should, if we're gonna give release time, we should have the YFA liaison, YFA, whatever your title is, I'm sorry. It's faculty liaison to the board, excuse me, Michelle. Present, and unions and classified union and LTAC and everything, so the board gets to hear from everybody. So, you know, we do that. So I don't, you know, it's a board policy. This is one of the few times I get to say, it's really up to the board. When it's a chancellor decision, I'll give my opinion, but, you know, and I'm not an attorney, and really, I don't want to be.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
Michelle,
So it's really up to you and the
Go ahead,
board.
Mike.
We're being taped right now in terms of, so that is available to everyone that would want to have that. So if they
Yes.
wanted every word that's spoken, that is available. So what you want is something that would be reflected in the board in an additional way. And the purpose for that, is that a sort of an accountability to the board, holding the board accountable to what you bring up? Is that the purpose, or is it to be able to share with faculty? I'm not sure, because if you wanted a word-for-word record, it's already
Yes.
available.
I would like to answer that. First of all, we know that it is available for $5, and we could, you know, the different groups, the Senate, for example, could put in a standing order and spend $60 a year to have that as a record, should we ever want to call on it for any reason. So that's the first thing. We are aware of that. But the minutes are your official record that go out to everyone, and I do see it as an accountability issue, but for all of us, and not just for you, but it holds us accountable. People say to me in my position, what do you say to them anyway? Well, what do I say to you every week? The constituents have a right to know that. I mean, not every word that I say, but a general summary of what I've said and what the presidents say. They have a right, without having to ask me, to know. And also, the constituent groups have, I think, a really big right, because the constituent groups are what keep presidents, I don't want to say in line, keep them accurate. And so if the presidents come up and are saying things to you that the constituents don't want them to say, or they're leaving out things that they've been directed, the constituents say, wait. So it's kind of a institutional effectiveness thing, and I think it's accountability, not just for you, but for all of us here, because that's the official record of what we do and what we say. Does that answer?
It does, and you had mentioned both Delta and Merced. I took it upon myself to attend their board meetings, and they handle their board meetings very much differently too. Where Merced is very detailed, and after 4.5 hours, I left the board meeting because the end was nowhere in sight. Delta's board meeting lasted an hour and a half, and I was out of there. So people do things differently, that's for sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Michelle, in general, I agree that more information is better than less. So sort of the concept of what you're proposing might be something that I support, but at the same time, two things come up, is that the minutes are the minutes of the board's actions, whereas we don't take action on the reports. And we've had some legal advice that less is more as far as the minutes go. But you have cited districts that do include it. So I'm not saying you should go this way, but you certainly have the option to put an agenda item on the board and require us to vote your suggestion. You have certainly the option of providing materials to the board like you spoke tonight, but, you know, in writing that support it. And you have the option of, with your cohorts there, to lobby the board, and then we could take a vote on it. I have no idea exactly how I'd vote right now or the rest of the board, but that is an option for you to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I think it's something that we can take under advisement and
Thank you.
and discuss it. Discuss it. I can remember when we didn't have anybody reporting, and I think Joan was the one that suggested that we have a constituency report so we can kind of find out what is kind of going on with each department. So I think that was a beginning that we didn't have before.
The Senate's always reported. and the student,
Yeah, but-
government. But the unions
But the
and
unions and-
LTAC and CS, YFACC and the,
Faculty, right?
and the faculty, well, at least when I was here, I mean, I don't know what you did before, but the faculty consultant to the board, or liaison, I forget the title, didn't give
Yeah.
a formal report, I believe.
Well,
But
I don't think it's an overwhelming request, but I think it's something that we could discuss and try to come up with a simple way of doing it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Oh, Academic Senate report. Don't fight over it, you guys. Thank you, Curtis.
Good evening. Exciting things at MJC. I find this semester has fewer meetings but more work, which is good because a lot of times we can't get anything done during meetings. And the three things that we're working on, either already started and well into it, are accreditation. But then the two new things that are happening this semester are assessments. We're training faculty to use a technological solution we have found for the issues of assessment, and that's Illumin. And we have programmed a meeting every Friday where faculty can drop in and be trained on assessment, on how to use Illumin. It is very powerful, and I hope that it's going to illuminate some of the issues that we have in the classroom in terms of discussions among departments of where we can improve. The last very important thing that we're doing is program review. If you look at the accreditation, it's one of the linchpins, one of the cornerstones of accreditation. And March 30th is the date that we have given our institution to complete program review. Once that is complete, a program review committee will get together, sort of review all the program reviews and make recommendations to the different councils and committees at the institution. Next week, I'm going to be gone for about 8 days, and actually it's sort of a week of the things that are very important to our institution now. I'm going to be going to a accreditation institute put out by the State Academic Senate in San Diego. We're sending, actually, it's not just me, we're sending a team. We want to make sure that we pass this accreditation with flying colors, that we understand the new standards. From there, we're sending a team. I have presented to you that we're doing the first time in college course starting in the summer and in September. We have 10 sections program for the summer. That's about 400 students, and 20 sections program for the fall. That's about 800 students. So we're going to send a team also to the biggest conference and first-year experience. It's been put out by North Carolina, the University of North Carolina for many, 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 many years. And our hope is to be able to get as much as we can to bring back to the institution. But we're meeting every Friday. The First Time in College Committee is meeting every Friday to train the teachers that we've already recruited. And we've recruited close to 20 instructors who are willing to teach this course both in the summer and in the fall. And finally, we have a wonderful conference of Achieving the Dream, in which we're also sending a team to participate. And we're part of this very exciting student success initiative that at our institution has taken many different branches. So I think there may be a couple of other things I'm sure we're doing. Oh yes, the last thing, I also presented before that the Center for Urban Education out of USC, we have engaged with them to train a group of faculty and administrators on how to achieve student success, and it's very, very specific. And it's a 20-month process. And last Friday, we had the first meeting. Was it last Friday or the Friday before? We had our first meeting, and we're trying to decide whether we're focusing on access, on retention, or success first. We're going to cover all of them, but we're trying to make a determination what's the most important thing for our institution. I think access may be, right now, given the situation, a good place to focus. But it was a very exciting meeting. It's nice to see a room full of very, very dynamic faculty and administrators wanting to tackle these issues of student success. I want to apologize because as soon as I leave here, I'm going out the door. I have something that I need to take care of. So thank you. If you have any questions.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Curtis, on this first time in college course,
Yes.
I'm very interested in seeing the evidence at some point in the future as to how well it worked. And Mark, maybe Mark would have had some ideas too. Is this a required course for everybody to take it? Will we have a baseline to judge success against this? And I mean, this is a good example of us following accreditation standards too, is using the evidence to make decisions in the future to say, yes, this is a very worthwhile course, or no, it's not. And how long do you think it'll take to really get a good idea?
6 years.
6 years.
Like the scorecard, that's the time frame that we use to measure.
And we're starting, I mean, even though it looks big, 800 students, our goal is probably to get to 2,000 or 3,000 students. The hope is to track these students. Now we have a researcher. We're also hiring somebody to help in this research office. At our institution, we have had a lack or an inability to get the kind of data that we need to show that these students who took this course had a significant, that it increased their chances of success. So our hope is to make sure that we track all, not our hope, we will track these students to see their success. We're also trying to do things on this, and this is what we're negotiating now, to get those students through quicker. And what comes to mind is what we've discussed in the committee, which is composed of faculty and administrator, is sort of an implementation of Me First. Me First is math and English first. Usually that is sort of a roadblock for the students who sometimes come and can't find those courses into 1 or 2 or 3 semesters into it. So their 2-year journey turns out to be a 5 or a 6-year journey. And the idea is to link these courses the first time in college to give them some sort of priority registration where they can get those classes that they need in math and English. It's something that's a technical solution. I'm told that it could be done, and hopefully we can implement it. We could not I don't know if we could not mandate the class or we don't want to mandate. Certainly that was something that was discussed at one point. So we thought that this would be the sort of the honey to get the bee to come to this course so that we can fill them up. We really believe this conference that we're going that we're going to at first year in college has been around for about 40 years. Other institutions, other states have been doing it for years with great success. We're hoping that we can sort of piggyback on that and hope that our students get through being good students from the beginning and get through in 2 years or 2.5 years.
Good, thanks. You know, as students know, quicker feedback may shape decisions that they make sooner or change habits. 6 years is a long time to wait. I guess you just have to be
But
very
that's when you'll see it in our scorecard.
I think we'll have internal data. And
I would love
yeah.
to see a comparison of the 300 students that took the class versus 300 that did not take the class.
Me too.
And see what happens in 2 years. You know, are they making progress or
knock on
not?
wood. Yes, me too. Any other questions?
I just wanted to comment that I really appreciate the report that you're giving us tonight. I find it very exciting that it seems like the faculty is working towards that end to making our students successful, and I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about the conference and what was accomplished and what you're bringing back also to faculty. So I really appreciate your
I
report.
will
this
make sure
evening.
to report at our next meeting.
Great.
Ann?
The course, first year in college, is that a one-unit course?
No, it's a 3-unit course, and it's pattern E for Stan State. So it's actually
Okay,
good for the students. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Wendy up?
There's a need for some equity with the Senate presidents. He goes to South Carolina for 8 days and I go to Weed. How exciting for them. I'm going to piggyback on what was report about our accreditation because that is the news that is most important at this time. And once again, Nate Ryan has stepped forward. He's our faculty accreditation co-chair, as you know, and our athletic director. So is there a more perfect match than having a coach try to pull this into shape? And Raylene Juarez is our SLO coordinator, and her leadership is just exquisite. So there's some movement, and it's good movement. I'm very pleased with Nate and Raylene at the helm of things for us. And though we are a small staff at Columbia, you know, we have 3 people going on accreditation visits this spring, and we had several last fall. We had 2 last fall. So that's pretty impressive for how small we are. Because those benefits, and I'm reading this report now, the benefits of serving, you know, I'm preaching to the choir as your chancellor and your vice chancellors and your presidents can tell you, it is such a window and an opportunity to take a look at ourselves and just get some great ideas or just kind of go, yeah, I need some work. So I appreciate this opportunity and what it can offer. So I look forward to bringing that information back and working with our group. For the Senate in particular, we're finding that we have a lot of policies that we need to rewrite, we need to explain, we need to update. And in particular, we don't have a faculty handbook that's newer than 2008. And if you were to look at the pictures, everybody in there looks like they're 15 or 16 years old in terms of the staff. So it's very ancient. It's not valuable to us, and I know it's something that an accrediting team will want to look at. Also, our policies on faculty hiring prioritization and the banking leave all need to be not totally redone, but they need to be reworked. So again, the opportunity to take a look at some of our policies and see where their holes are and how they're not serving us as well as they could be. We get to hire. You know, at Columbia, we get so excited when we finally get to hire faculty. And, you know, because faculty is kind of where the rubber meets the road. And it's hugely important that, that this faculty members serve our institution well as attract students. So at the moment, we're looking at policies here as well. Some of our divisions have the screening committee write the job description. Some appears the dean writes the job description. And we also want to make sure that they're being advertised nationally so that we can attract a pool that presents equal opportunities and diversity for our campus. Because right now, we need some work with that in terms of what we're able to pull in terms of numbers. And that's about it. Do you have any questions for me? It's a short and sweet one. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we completed that area. Now I go on to the president's presentations. Jill, you're up first, looks like.
Thank you, Chair Rojas, members of the board, and Chancellor Smith. We have a long list of activities that are happening on the MJC campus, and so I hope that some of those will fit into your busy schedules. We'd love to see you on campus. I have one I'd like to add that didn't make the list. They are currently very busy in the art gallery, moving out Professor Saros's paintings and moving